Hey guys, how's it going? Quick film study on Juan Manuel Marquez versus Juan Diaz. We're going to be taking a look at the adjustments made by Marquez in order to win this fight. So with that introduction out of the way, let's get straight to the video. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that Juan Diaz was able to back Juan Manuel Marquez up to the ropes. And Diaz was able to use his punch volume to actually overwhelm Marquez and back him up to the ropes, where Diaz would then unleash vicious left hooks and uppercuts, which did significant damage very early on in the fight. And Juan Diaz was able to win rounds 1, 2, and 3 very convincingly in this fashion. Marquez simply couldn't cope with the volume and the pace.
Shots from Marquez. Diaz goes.
A younger and older fighter.
I get the hunch that Marquez is going to need to stay off the ropes, Emmanuel.
Yes, and I don't think he's going to do that.
And are they ever? What a big left hook by Diaz. Big left hook. Staggers Marquez. Marquez in trouble. Big left hook. Staggers Marquez.
So as you can see, Juan Diaz was having great success in the early rounds. He was particularly successful in backing Marquez up to the ropes by leading with the straight right hand, followed by the jab, which then set Marquez on the ropes, and then allowed Diaz to then seek to land big eye-catching punches, which of course the judges really love. So he would lead with the right hand and then follow up with the jab, as we can see.
What a will. What determination. What a big left hook by Diaz.
So we're going to take a look at this. You see Diaz leads with the right hand. Juan Diaz would like to lead with that straight right hand and then come back with the jab, as you're going to see next. There's the jab. So Diaz follows up with a jab. Sometimes he would follow up with a left hook. Diaz understood that the best way to beat a counterpuncher is to overwhelm him with punches. So Juan Diaz would press the attack with a constant stream of never-ending punches, and Diaz was punching with a lot of momentum and using his body weight effectively with every single punch. So Marquez had no choice but to fight on the back foot. And once again, we're going to see the right hand jab, which backs Marquez up to the ropes. And again, straight right hand jab. So now we're going to talk about the first adjustment that Marquez actually makes. As was previously explained, Juan Diaz would lead with the right hand and then follow with a jab to set Marquez on the ropes. So Marquez picked up on this and began countering the jab as Diaz came in. This was the first adjustment Juan Manuel Marquez makes in the fight. So we're going to take a look at an example of this. Here we see Diaz lead with the straight right hand again. As previously mentioned, he would back Marquez up to the ropes with the right hand, and then he would follow with the jab. Now keep in mind, Marquez is one of the best counterpunchers in boxing. So Marquez knows that the jab is coming once he sees the right hand. So he's going to time this coming jab now. And so he's backed him up to the ropes with the right hand and counters the jab. So by the third round, one of the greatest counterpunchers of the modern era has picked up on the fact that Diaz was backing him up to the ropes with a 2-1 combination. That is to say, a straight right hand followed by a jab. So Marquez begins to time the jab because he's expecting the jab every single time he sees the straight right hand. Purely genius from Marquez. Okay, so the second adjustment we're going to talk about is the fact that Marquez quickly figured out that he stands a much better chance of winning this fight if he simply stayed off the ropes. So the second adjustment Marquez makes is simply spinning off the ropes to get back to the center of the ring. Juan Diaz did not know how to keep his man on the ropes. So we're going to take a look at some examples of Marquez basically escaping off the ropes.
And it looks as though the stamina advantage is beginning to show.
That foot has tremendous force because he has his weight leaning right into the position where he can.
Diaz, as we pointed out, is by nature the bigger man and more of a... Diaz isn't landing many of these.
No.
But he's asserting his energy again.
So we see Diaz coming in. Juan Diaz was doing a great job at getting Marquez to back up to the ropes. This is something Diaz did very well. But we can clearly see that Juan Diaz does a very bad job at actually keeping Marquez on the ropes. Diaz was way too quick to step to either side of Marquez, and when he did so, he simply wouldn't cut the escape route, so Juan Manuel Marquez was always given a way to escape. I mean, Diaz doesn't even make an attempt to stop Marquez, just walking off the ropes. Now we're going to talk about the fact that Juan Diaz was always coming in very low and protected. Diaz actually possesses a Joe Frazier style left hook. This is because he fights from a low stance, which makes him a smaller target to hit. He comes in low and protected behind a high guard defense, and when he sees an opening, he springs with that beautiful left hook that he has.
Punches straight where he can maximize his strength.
Big left hook, staggers Marquez. Marquez in trouble and trying to fight his way out of it.
And Muhammad Ali knows that.
So you can see Joe Frazier coming in very low stance, and is able to spring with the left hook. So after the initial dominance by Muhammad Ali, here you see Joe Frazier's best weapon, which of course is his left hook. The left hook is such an excellent punch because when it's used properly, it lands on the blind side of an opponent, and most fighters simply don't see it coming. But the key thing to understand here is Joe Frazier has a very low protected stance and is able to spring and surprise Muhammad Ali with the left hook. And so we see Juan Diaz changing levels and attacking from a low position. By changing levels like this, Diaz is able to spring with the left hook and catch Marquez by surprise, landing the hook on Marquez's blind side, as you're about to see. There you see the left hook, and then he's going to catch him this time. Beautiful left hook. So Marquez had to make a final adjustment in this fight, and that was to lead with uppercuts, particularly the left uppercut. As I said previously, Juan Diaz was changing levels and attacking from a low position. This made it very difficult for Marquez to find Diaz with hooks or straight punches. So Marquez begins to sneak uppercuts in between the high guard position, and this changes the fight completely. So we're going to take a look at some examples.
Uppercut, uppercut, uppercut.
Particularly at the end of the round.
Diaz. Now Marquez will look to...
Fought a bit with his mouth open since the third round.
Now this. Economic in the first minute of the 8th round. There comes the uppercut again.
Proud of his country. You know, even though they're both supposed to be Mexican. Here you see Marquez mixing up his punches to the outside and between the gloves. I think that left uppercut between the gloves right there was a shot that caused the cut. You can see the blood.
Okay, so as I said previously, Juan Diaz was changing levels and coming in very low with a high guard defense, and this made it very difficult for Marquez to actually find him with hooks or straight punches. And here you can see Marquez shoot a left hook which goes flying over Diaz's head. So now we're going to take a look at the adjustments which are made by Juan Manuel Marquez to be able to land more punches on Juan Diaz. And here you see this beautiful left uppercut from Marquez. This is simply one of his best punches. Notice how Marquez is able to slip this uppercut between the high guard defense of Juan Diaz. Uppercuts will always be more effective against boxers who fight from a hunched or a low and protected stance, just like Juan Diaz. Beautiful boxing from Marquez. So by the 6th round, Marquez had completely figured out Juan Diaz, and the left uppercut quickly became his most successful punch. As soon as Marquez actually finds this punch, he begins to win the middle rounds to the late rounds before he stops him in round 9. So we see that Marquez checks Diaz's right hand with a flash jab or a throwaway jab. And then he's going to follow up with a tap left hook to the side. Diaz will now attempt to change levels because he's expecting something coming. And as Diaz begins to change levels, you see Marquez catch Diaz with a right uppercut between his high guard defense. Now Diaz actually increased the damage of this punch because at the time he was changing levels, so he actually leans his head down and into this right uppercut. And then a couple more punches, and there you see that left uppercut there from Marquez. Beautiful boxing. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the first knockdown which happened in the fight. As I pointed out previously, Juan Manuel Marquez is a great counterpuncher. Now the counterpuncher is a nightmare to fight because when you think you have him on the back foot, all it takes is a well-timed counter and the fight can change dramatically. Marquez is able to catch Juan Diaz with an overhand right as he comes in with his jab. Now by this time, this is in round 9, Marquez could read Diaz and basically time his every move, especially that jab.
And he's supposedly the stronger man.
And he's hurt.
A huge uppercut. Down goes Diaz. First knockdown.
Okay.
Here's another look at the first knockdown, Emmanuel.
Right hand, but what amazed me was the precision and the accuracy of the punches from Marquez. He didn't miss too many punches, and he was punching from all angles, even as he was twisting and turning.
Okay, so before we get to talking about the knockdown, Juan Manuel Marquez had already began countering that jab with an overhand right, as you will see in round 3, which I showed you previously. There you see the overhand right counter there on the jab. Okay, so now I want you to pay very close attention to Marquez and his body language. You can actively see him studying Juan Diaz as he tries to read the timing of this jab. And again, pay close attention to his body language. Notice how he's studying Diaz. He's trying to get a reading of the jab. See how he takes that quick step back. He's trying to time this jab. So now we see Marquez counter with an overhand right over the jab. Now boxing is a science, and Juan Diaz had the right strategy to actually beat Marquez, which was to overwhelm his defense and overwhelm the counterpuncher with punches. This strategy will produce good results early in the fight, but due to the high pace and the intensity which Diaz established early, he quickly punched himself out. And Marquez, the counterpuncher, was able to come strong in the mid to late rounds, as is usually the case with most highly skilled technical counterpunchers. And then you see him feint the left uppercut, jab, right hand, left uppercut. This is as sensational a knockdown as you will see from Marquez. Beautiful boxing. Just amazing. And down goes Juan Diaz.
Back to fighting.
A experienced fighter would probably clinch, but I don't think that's what he's going to do.
And look at Marquez go to the body. Look at him go to the body to try to set up the finish, and what a right hand, and that will be that.
What you just saw was a really good young fighter knocked out by a great old fighter.
Please make sure you click the red button to subscribe to my channel if you already haven't. Then check out some of my previous videos, or you could check out one of my more popular videos right now. Or you could do absolutely nothing and go out to the outro music.
Nigga, try me, I'ma get this whole motherfucking bounty. And I ain't playing with nobody. Fuck around and I'ma catch a body. Let a nigga try me, I'ma get this whole motherfucking bounty.